Hey guys, welcome to the Football Companion episode 8. So for those of you who are tuning in for the first time, the premise of the show is basically me reviewing the past weekend's fixtures and then previewing the upcoming fixtures. So staple on this show is me giving my score predictions at the end of the show. So I did that last week, so let's see how I did. I have the paper here, it's not great actually. So let's go through them. So for the big game, Arsenal-Chelsea. Now the way Arsenal played really surprised me. I thought Chelsea would steamroll them. I went with 3-1 to Chelsea. Ended up being 0-0 as you guys know, I'm sure. So yeah, kudos to Arsenal on that. So got that one way off. The next one, the Brighton-Bournemouth game, that was the early kickoff last week. I obviously didn't even know what was happening, so we'll discount that. We'll move on to Crystal Palace-Southampton. Now I predicted 0-0. I thought this would be a boring game. And it was a boring game, but Southampton managed to win 1-0. And Southampton really outclassed Crystal Palace actually. They looked miles apart in terms of team progression. I don't think Southampton had the best of starts, but they looked really good in that game. And I think they were allowed to look good by a Palace side that was just dreadful. So yeah, I went with 0-0. It ended up being 1-0. So then we have Huddersfield-Leicester. Now this game ended 1-1. I went with 2-2. So technically, that's kind of correct, almost. So I'm counting that as a right result. So that's one I've got right so far. And then Newcastle, who did they play? Stoke. Yeah, Newcastle-Stoke. Newcastle 1-1. I went with 1-1. So yeah, slightly off on that one. Another result that really surprised me was Man City-Watford. Didn't surprise me that Man City won the game, but the manner in which they won really surprised me. I thought Watford put up a good fight. I was singing the praises of Marco Silva before that. I think he's a great manager. But City can just steamroll teams. We've seen it with Liverpool. They can do it to anyone on their day. So yeah, City won 6-0 in the end. I predicted 3-2 to City. The next one is West Brom versus West Ham. So I went with 1-0. Didn't think there would be a lot of goals in this game, and there weren't. There were no goals in fact. It ended up being 0-0. I went with 1-0 to West Brom. The next game, Spurs versus Swansea. Now I thought that Spurs had gotten over their Wembley hoodoo after beating Borussia Dortmund in the Champions League last Wednesday, I believe. So I thought they would beat Swansea. I went with 3-0. Turned out being 0-0. They still struggled really, Spurs. They had a lot of possession, but didn't have a lot of clear-cut chances. Swansea did well to hold on for the point. And then we have Man United versus Everton. So yeah, I expected United to win this comfortably, no doubt. Everton usually bend over for United anyway, so the thing is, the scoreline didn't really reflect how the game panned out. I mean, United dominated possession, but in terms of clear-cut chances, they only started creating when Everton gave up at the end, basically. So yeah, so that finished 4-0 to United. I predicted 2-0, and the final one is Liverpool-Burnley. Now I did say in my prediction that I didn't expect this to be an easy game by any means, just because no Liverpool game these days is an easy game for us. So yeah, I thought Liverpool had enough to eke it out at the end, but it didn't turn out that way. They puffed, nothing came of it. It ended up being 1-1. I went with 2-1. So that's kind of close. But anyway, yeah, so those are the predictions for last week. So hopefully I do better on this weekend's fixtures, which brings me to the next section, which is the coming games this weekend. So there's no real standout fixture this weekend, so I'm just going to start from a chronological order. So usually I start with the bigger games first, but anyway, early kickoff on Saturday, West Ham Spurs. So West Ham, we know, have, similarly to Spurs, they have struggled with their transition to a new stadium. So they're obviously playing at the Olympic Stadium now. And the thing is, when you used to go to Upton Park, the stadium was so tight-knit and so compressed and congested that the fans were almost on top of you. It was such a hard atmosphere to play in. I remember dreading that fixture every season. But now the distance between the fans and the pitch is so vast that it almost takes away from the atmosphere. And I think the fact that the pitch is way wider now doesn't suit a team like West Ham for sure. You rather them play in a congested space. But yeah, so basically for this one, I think the result picks itself because West Ham struggle at home. Spurs can only win away from home, so it kind of picks itself. I'm going to go for 2-0 to Spurs in this one. Hopefully Harry Kane scores as well because he's my FPL captain. Yeah, so the next game, there's a whole host of 10 PM kickoffs. Next one is Burnley-Huddersfield. Burnley, we know how they're going to play. They play the same way every game, and kudos to them because it works for them, so why change something that's working? They're going to play tight, they're going to make it difficult to break down, and then they're going to play to Chris Wood's strengths, which is lumping it on top, letting him control it, and playing off him. So Huddersfield, I think they drew. Yeah, they drew last week. So again, their reasonably good start continues this season. So I'm gonna go for 2-1 to Burnley in this game. Next we have Everton Bournemouth, and if you talk about teams who need a win, Everton need a win. They cannot draw this game. They definitely cannot afford to lose this game. I think they've lost 4 in a row now. Yeah, they cannot afford to make that 5. And the pressure is really mounting on Ronald Koeman. They spent a whole wad of cash this summer, something like 140 million, and to not replace the chief position they needed to replace, which is a striker, it's kind of poor recruitment in my opinion. You know, they were raving about Steve Walsh in the summer, how he was able to find gems, but he wasn't able to find a striker for them. So yeah, Everton need a win, and just based on that alone, the pressure that's on them, the fact that they're Goodison, they really cannot afford to slip up. I think they'll eke this out. I think it'll be 2-0. I don't think it'll be comfortable, but I think it'll be 2-0 to Everton. Next up, and your surefire bet of the weekend is Man City versus Crystal Palace. Man City are going to absolutely annihilate Crystal Palace. I saw Crystal Palace play on Saturday last week. Absolutely dreadful to watch. No game plan, no cohesion. It was like watching every other Roy Hodgson side except without the defensive solidarity, which just makes it a shit show, a complete shit show. For them, the only thing they have going for them is the fact that Sarko is back in the side this week, so that will help in some regard. But just the way they play, the managers on the touchline just looking like he's hardly even fucking alive. If you've seen Roy Hodgson on the bench, you know he's the least animated of managers. He makes Arsene Wenger look animated, and that takes some doing. So Man City, we know, steamroll sides. They've scored 11 goals in their last 2 league games, 5 against Liverpool, 6 against Watford. They look like a real force this season. I don't see Crystal Palace stopping them. I think it's gonna be 5-1 to Man City. So if you're gonna put a bet this weekend, this will be a sure win. I'm not sure how much you get back. I'm sure the odds will be pretty low for a Man City win. But yeah, I would lump on Man City. Southampton, Man United at the St. Mary's. Now Southampton I thought did pretty well. I didn't expect them to play as well as they did, but they were sort of allowed to play well just based on Crystal Palace incompetencies last weekend. The centre-back Wesley Hood, who is the de facto replacement for Van Dijk, he did really well. He has a good range of passing. He was able to start some moves from the back, which is what you want from a centre-back these days, to be able to play out with the ball as well. They also brought Van Dijk on in the closing stages of the game last week, which I think is the beginning of his reintegration process into the side. So which is great. If you can get Van Dijk alongside Wesley Hood, that seems like a partnership that might work. They're both Dutch, obviously. So yeah, so in that respect, defensively, I think they'll be fine. Even in midfield, Lemina really surprised me. He's a signing from Juventus. He signed for 18 million. He played really well, looked like a real solid, imposing figure. So yeah, I think I didn't give them as much credit as they probably deserve, but yeah, so they did well. United, we know they're playing with such confidence, such solidarity, the hallmark of a Mourinho side, and they've got the perfect striker for them. I mean, you know, I know many people were doubtful over the figure that was spent on Romelu Lukaku. They were skeptical. 80 million, is he worth it? I mean, he's going to guarantee you 25 goals, and in the Premier League that's priceless. So yeah, United reaping the benefits of a great transfer window, as we all expected that they would. But I think that this game could cause them some problems. I just think the way Southampton played last weekend, like I said, I know it's against a horrible Crystal Palace side, but they look like they had some decent players there that could cause problems. I think those will be a draw. I'm going to go 1-1. Swansea, Watford next. Swansea are playing at home. So Watford, I'm sure their heads will be down after the huge defeat last weekend. Swansea did well to get a point at Spurs. But, you know, from a Watford perspective, like I said, Man City can do that to anyone. They shouldn't feel too hard done by their... I mean, Man City are just a phenomenal footballing side. Swansea, Renato Sanches played well last weekend at Spurs. So he looks like a promising signing. We knew he was a really good signing for them. So I expected to reap some rewards. Yeah, I think Swansea will win this, and I'm going to go for 2-1. Next we have Stoke versus Chelsea. So Stoke, we know at home, they're a hard side to play against. They've already taken points off United in the 2-2 draw. They've already beaten Arsenal at home 1-0, I believe. Yeah, so Chelsea were a bit disappointing last week against Arsenal. Like I said in the opening of the show, I expected them to steamroll Arsenal. It just didn't pan out that way. I think the good thing for them is that they have Hazard back into the side and they could use his flair. I wonder if we'll see a change in formation from Chelsea, like Hazard up top with Morata, not next to each other but probably playing off Morata. I think that could work pretty well. But yeah, so Chelsea, David Luiz is out. He's got 3-game suspension for a crazy tackle. What he's thinking going in, lunging towards the end of the game, I do not know. A silly challenge, which will probably mean Christensen comes into the team, which is fine. I think he's a good defender. Don't think that will impact much on them. So I just think Chelsea, after the disappointing result, will probably want to bounce back, and I think they will. I'm going to go 1-0 Chelsea. Late kickoff on Saturday, so this is Saturday night, Sunday morning, 12:30 a.m. Leicester versus Liverpool at the King Power Stadium. Now Liverpool have already lost at the King Power this week, losing 2-0 on Tuesday in the Carabao. I refuse to call it Carabao Cup. It's going to be called the Culling Cup. Okay, I'm going to stick with Culling Cup. So yeah, they lost 2-0 against Leicester. It was a poor performance, and I know they made a lot of changes, but the manner in which they conceded the goals were exactly the same as how the first team are conceding goals. So that's clearly a systematic problem, and it's something that Klopp needs to change, and he needs to change it fast because the patience is wearing thin. We knew in the summer that we needed a centre back. I've gone on about this time and again. They didn't go out and get a centre back. So this is all on Klopp now. Whatever defensive frailties we're experiencing, it's all on Klopp. He chose not to strengthen, and I think there needs to be a change in formation. Right now, the defenders are getting no protection from the midfield, and the defenders are a bunch of fucking clowns as it is. So if you leave them exposed, it's going to be even worse. So yeah, so I think if you're going to bet again this weekend, like the Man City game, I think you should bet on Leicester. I'm sure the odds will be pretty decent. Liverpool traditionally don't do well at Leicester. I think Klopp has lost the last 2, including the League Cup, the last 3 at Leicester. So yeah, I would go for a Leicester win in this one. I'm going to go 2-1 Leicester, unfortunately. So interestingly enough, there's only one game on Sunday, which is a 11 p.m. kickoff, Brighton versus Newcastle. I think, like I expected Newcastle to do pretty well. They're exceeding my expectations this season. I think they're already up to 4th in the league, their best start to a Premier League campaign in decades, or more than a decade. So yeah, I expect this to continue. I think Brighton will really struggle this season. I'm going to go for 2-1 to Newcastle. So Monday night, Tuesday morning, we have a 3 a.m. kickoff at the Emirates. So this is the final game of the match week. It's Arsenal versus West Brom at the Emirates. Now, West Brom are a very tough side to play against, no matter where you play them, home, away. We know totally sides are hard to break down, and traditionally against the bigger sides, it's literally almost 11 men behind the ball throughout the game. So that's such a pain to play against. And I know Arsenal have a lot of quality players, but when you're coming up against defenders or a team who are just prepared to sit back the whole game, it's going to be hard no matter who you have. But I would expect Arsenal to eventually, after they're chipping away, to get their rewards and win this game. I do, however, think it's going to be close. And if I recall last season, I think they just nicked it at the end, 1-0. I can recall Ozil cross to Giroud. Whether that was last season or the season before, I'm not too sure. Arsenal fans, let me know. But yeah, I think Arsenal win this by 1-0. So it'll be a nervy game for sure. So yeah, that wraps up the fixtures for this weekend. So hopefully I do a bit better in my prediction this week than I did last week. You guys will have to tune in next week to find out. But yeah, as I said, if you're gonna bet, lump on Man City and have a cheeky bet on Leicester, to beat Liverpool. Sure, you get pretty good odds for that. And the likelihood is that Leicester are gonna win simply because Liverpool don't do well at Leicester. Liverpool have been on a bad run of form. Defensively, they're all over the place. So yeah, expect Vardy and Mahrez to run riot in that game. So yeah, thank you guys again for watching. Like, share, subscribe as always. I really appreciate it, and I'll see you guys next week to find out how I've done in the predictions. Hopefully a bit better this time. So thank you guys again for watching. See you again next week. Thanks.